Are you looking for a brand new meta Pokemon deck? Are you tired of all these sleazy Pokemon salesmen trying to sell you on crap decks? Then you need to head down to the Totodile Gang Deck dealership where we find the Pokemon deck for you! Low prices on all pre-owned and used Tera Box decks. Piping hot deals on Goldangos. Dragapults flying off the shelves. We've got it all, folks. If you need a top-of-the-line Pokemon deck that'll make you a champion today, then this is the video for you!
Whoa. Okay, I am not quite sure what that was. I think the spirit of a used car salesman may have briefly possessed my body. But anyways, welcome back to the channel. If you're new around here, congratulations. You are now a part of the friendliest gang in all of Pokemon, the Totodile Gang. And today we are running down the top 10 Pokemon meta decks for the month of May 2025. Let's get into it. Now to start us off, let's go over some honorable mentions, beginning with Espathra, which actually had quite a showing in Atlanta. We also have Roaring Moon making a bit of a comeback, mostly with a poison build. And I gotta shout out my boy Mamoswine for having a deck in the top 300 at both of the first two North American regionals. God, I love Mamoswine. Okay, let's get this list going. To start us off, at number 10, we have Blissey EX, which I may have a video out on soon. This is a super fun deck that is all about tanking hits and returning as much of that damage back as possible with an army of Monkey Dories. I do not know how long Blissey will be decent. I think it may stick around for just this month. It may hang around for quite a while in this meta. I've got no clue, but what I do know is it's pretty dang good right now because of how difficult it is to one-hit KO a Blissey EX. It's also really nice because we have a few tools in this deck that are super crucial, including a Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon to do some stalling, and a Roaring Moon EX if we need to take an instant one-hit KO. While there haven't been a ton of Blissey decks to show out in Monterey or Atlanta, there was a Blissey EX deck that finished second in Monterey, piloted by Fernando Cifuentes, last year's world champion. So I feel like it at least deserves a spot on the list. On to number 9, Joltik Box. I'm a bit hesitant to even include this on my list, but I do think it definitely has the capacity to perform extremely well in this meta. My one big drawback that prevents me from wholeheartedly supporting this deck is the necessity of Joltik to get this deck up and running, plus the danger of setting up your benched Pokemon when there is so much Gust in the meta. I do agree that it's awesome that you can set up your Iron Hands or your Pikachu on the bench, but if I have a boss's orders and a Pokemon that can hit for 230 damage, I can take out that Iron Hands and all of those energies off your board. Obviously, Pikachu is more invulnerable, but people have ways to get small damage counters on Pokemon so that ability doesn't matter so much. One Monkey Dory and that Pikachu is gone too. There were 8 total Joltik Box decks in the top 200 in Monterey, so I do think it deserves a spot on this list, but I'm just going to say that I'm very hesitant to play this deck myself. This is coming from somebody who does not have experience with this deck. So if you're enjoying the deck, let me know down in the comments. But I'm just not really sure if it's my play style either, so this is a bit biased. For number 8, we've got ourselves another box deck. This time it's the Flareon/Sylveon box deck. This one gained some popularity in Atlanta after there were 10 total lists in the top 270, and then it followed it up with a pretty nice showing with 6 lists in Monterey. The whole idea behind this deck is to utilize Flareon's first attack to power up your Sylveon on the bench. Once you have that done, you can then use Sylveon's Angelite attack to just shuffle 2 of your opponent's benched Pokemon back into their deck, just kind of destroying their board state hopefully. And then because you can't use Angelite twice in a row, you have to hit for 160, which also makes it so that your opponent can't hit into your Sylveon quite as hard, reducing the damage by 100. This deck also runs my favorite Pokemon, Lillie's Clefairy, to make it so that Sylveon can actually one-hit KO a Dragapult with that first attack, because now dragon types are weak to psychic. Now this will likely come up again, but it really seems like the top 2 through 10 decks are mostly only here because they have a semi-decent matchup into easily the best deck in format right now, Dragapult, which, sorry to spoil that for you, but if you've been playing the game at all, or you saw the thumbnail, you probably already knew that. Number 7, and my personal favorite deck on this list right now, Tera Box. Now, Tera Box is not quite the powerhouse of a deck that I predicted it would be a few months ago, but it's still performing quite well, but not quite well enough to be in that top 5 range. Tera Box relies on Tera Pokemon, shockingly enough, and Noctowl to work, because when you evolve Noctowl, when there's a Tera Pokemon in play, you can just go grab 2 of any trainer cards, making this a very complicated deck and one that requires a lot of practice to get good at. There are definitely still a few consistency issues that this deck is working through, but when it's rolling, this deck is nearly unstoppable. I think the big issues with Tera Box right now is you can get a really good start, kind of stall in the middle, giving your opponent a chance to come back into the game, and then you might be able to finish it strong with a big end play, but sometimes your opponent just finishes you out before that. So I'm still looking for that perfect line. I will be running Tera Box in Milwaukee at the regionals this weekend, so wish me luck. I hope I don't brick too much. If you want to learn more about this deck, go check out the most recent analysis video that I did on Tera Box. I think it does a pretty good job of giving you a basic idea of how the deck is run. Number 6, Tankopagos. Tankopagos, or Tank Terapagos, is somewhat similar to Tera Box, but it focuses more solely on Terapagos, and it sometimes uses Pidgeot EX as a search engine, and it utilizes Bouffalant to make those Terapagoses harder to one-hit KO. This is a really interesting deck, and there are a ton of different options you can go with, be it a Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon version, or one with a Volcanion EX. If this deck sounds intriguing to you, definitely go check out Limitless.com and see all of the different Tankopagos lists, because there is just a ton of diversity. This one's playing really well into the meta right now because you essentially could have a 340 HP basic Pokemon if you have a Bravery Charm down that can hit for up to 240, and that isn't including any damage you can move off with Monkey Dory. At number 5, we have Archaludon. Now, the most common Archie list that we've been seeing at the past couple of regionals has been Poison Archaludon, which if you want to learn more about, go check out my video on that. But we also have been seeing some straight Archie lists with Hopzation or the single prize Scizor, sometimes the Scizor EX, sometimes the Dunsparce. There's been quite a bit of variety in the Archie community. I personally think that Poison Archie is probably your best bet right now if you're looking to play Archaludon. But that Archie double list also looks really intriguing, if maybe a bit less consistent, but man, it seems fun. If you're noticing a theme that we are seeing a lot of tanky decks in the meta right now, you'd be correct. It's kind of difficult for a lot of decks to muster up these large HP numbers, Dragapult, and that's why a lot of these tank decks have been performing quite well recently. For all the non-tanky decks right now, there are just so many Pokemon that can hit between that 200 to 250 HP range that it really makes it dangerous that your attacker might not live to see more than 1 or 2 turns. Even though Archie isn't hitting for the most damage, which is why I like Poison Archie more, it does have the ability to hit for a little bit more, and you can withstand a ton of damage, and Professor Turo's scenario exists. So if they don't one-hit KO your Archie, you have a chance to completely get that off the board. Number 4, Raging Bolt. One of my nemesis decks, Raging Bolt, is making a major comeback after seriously falling off before rotation. It's killing the meta right now. You can one-hit KO anything except for like Pikachu, which is huge, and you're pretty resistant to Big Daddy Pult. I kind of thought that Iono's Belly Bolt version of Raging Bolt was going to be the better one post-rotation, but I was dead wrong, with the classic Teal Mask Ogerpon Noctowl combination prevailing, with I believe 31 decks in the top 200 in Monterey, which was only second to the big man himself, Mr. Dragapult. This deck relies on getting a bunch of energies down on your board and then using Raging Bolt to deal 70 damage for each energy you discard from your Pokemon. We use Teal Mask Ogerpon and Professor Sada's Vitality to accelerate those energies and draw cards, and because Teal Mask is a Tera type, they can also use Noctowl to grab any two trainers they want. If it didn't have such a shaky performance in Atlanta, this deck would easily be a top 2 or 3 deck on this list, so don't be shocked if this deck absolutely goes off in May. Number 3, Gardevoir. While I was tempted to rank this bad boy at second, Gardevoir was barely edged out and ended up at third. This is another one of my nemesis decks because of how good Gardy played into Cloth back when I was running my sweet Crab Boy. So of course, it's just still killing it. Gardy is like a goddamn cockroach. You just can't quite kill this thing. You take away its draw engine and they just use Enzoroark. Secret Box seems like the perfect ace spec for this deck, and I'm not all that surprised that Gardy was the winning deck down in Monterey due to how good it plays into Dragapult. Gardevoir will likely never not be a top 5 deck until it rotates next spring. So if you're looking for a deck that will likely be good for pretty much probably the next full year, I think Gardy is a very safe route to go. Our number 2 deck of May 2025 is something that I never thought I'd ever say, but it's Gholdengo. I genuinely didn't think I'd live to see the day where Gholdengo was even probably a top 5 deck when it came out. But no, it's pretty firmly the number 2 deck in the meta right now, only behind Dragapult itself. I mean, it's pretty hard to ignore when it's the second best performing deck in Atlanta and the third best performing deck in Monterey, with plenty of top 50 placements at both events. With Gholdengo's ability to manipulate the top of the deck and then draw into those cards, I mean, it checks out. Plus, similar to Raging Bolt, you do have the capability to one-hit KO anything in the meta, minus Pikachu, or Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon, if you have enough energies in your hand. Now, there are 3 main ways that people are playing Gholdengo right now. First up, we got Classic Dango, pretty straightforward, and you're using Scizor as your second attacker, typically. Then there's Gold Dragapult, which uses Dracloak as an additional draw engine, and Dragapult if you need it as an attacker. And finally, we got Gold Dunsparce, which uses the Dunsparces as additional draw engines, and sometimes Dunsparce EX to fight your way through a Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon or deal huge damage to all EX decks. This one does seem to be the most common run of Gholdengo that we're seeing, but again, there's a lot of variety. Alright, and as you should probably already know, the number 1 deck in May of 2025 is Dragapult. Shocker. We all know this is the dominant deck, and frankly, it's not even close. The efficiency this deck has, the draw engine through Dracloak, the ability to spread damage, it's just... this deck is unreal. It's absolutely crushing the meta right now. At the first 2 North American regionals, Dragapult was easily the number 1 most played deck and nearly doubled the number 2 most played deck in decks listed by Limitless. Dragapult finished with 80 in the top 270 in Atlanta and 54 in the top 200 in Monterey. The stall from Budu is just the cherry on top for Dragapult, just giving it that extra stall option, truly allowing them a turn to get just everything they need set up. Plus, they still have the Dusknoir line to provide that extra damage to take big one-hit KOs if they need it. It is interesting to note that a lot of the Pult decks that have found success are no longer running the Dusk line at all and are instead going for straight Pult. but nearly every Dragapult deck is now playing Hawlucha, so if you're wondering why a bunch of Noctowl decks are now running the 80 HP Hoothoots as one or two of their Hootoots, that would be why. Dragapult will undoubtedly continue its stranglehold on the meta, but for how long? No one knows, and we're just gonna have to wait and see if the Team Rocket release will dim Dragapult's light, but I know I, for one, am sick of it. If you're sick of Pult players in your area, maybe consider checking out that anti-Pult video that I did on the Lillie's Clefairy toolbox. That's a good anti-Dragapult tool, go check it out. Alright, well that was the top 10 decks for the month of May in 2025. Let me know if you enjoyed this style of content, as I don't really usually make these types of videos, but if you'd enjoy it every month or every few months, I will definitely consider making this a recurring series. Let me know. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. If you really enjoyed, you can hit that notification bell to be notified every time I post a video or go live. I do stream every Tuesday and Friday at 6 p.m. Central, so come check me out there. And I just really appreciate all y'all for being here. If you want to support the channel a little extra, you can now become a channel member. Donate as little as $2 a month and you'll get early access to videos, perks in chat, you get extra emojis on the live streams, all this fun stuff. If you do join at a certain level, you get a custom Totodile gang card. So thank you so much to my members currently. I love y'all so much. Thank you to all of my Totodile gang for watching my videos and for supporting. Appreciate y'all so much. We are officially 3/4 of the way to 1,000 subscribers, which is really freaking cool. Couldn't do without you guys, so y'all are the absolute goats. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like, hit that subscribe. I'll see y'all next time. Have a beautiful, wonderful day. Peace.